Oh, I'd like to bring this Personnel and Human Services Committee to order on Tuesday, December 15th, about 4:03. Dan, will you take roll, please?
Lutz.
Here.
Tilly.
Here.
Ransom.
Here.
Dick.
Here.
Quinn.
Here.
Garrett.
Here.
Krieger.
Excused.
Warren present.
Thank you. First of all, we have the minutes of 11/17.
Motion approved. Support.
We have a motion and support. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same sign. I think we're going to take up on. Anyhow, at this time we have public input. Those wishing to speak to the committee on anything that's on the agenda or not, feel free to come forward. Seeing none, we will continue on with petitions and communications. Under item A, we have vacancies for the prosecutor, legal secretary full-time. Under item B, we have health department, which is the accountant clerk in the maternal and infant health care program and children's special care program full-time, and the laboratory technician part-time. What is your pleasure?
So moved. Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next we have under item 2, which is the health department position request, seeking approval of the request for position and proposed resolution is attached. This is from the Department of DOA. So, what is your pleasure?
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay?
Nay.
Lutz and Ransom.
Yep. Okay, we have, motion passes. 3-2. Under B, we have Corporation Council, the Bay County 401k Trust Plan Committee.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next we have referrals. I don't believe we had any. We didn't have any unfinished business. We have 2 items under new business that were added. I believe they're on your table. One is for the clerk's office, which is the clerk typist TU6. What is your pleasure on that one?
Support.
Okay, we have motion and support. Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Then the next we have the county section 125 plan, and then giving permission for the follow-up signatures from the board chair.
So moved. Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any miscellaneous? Any announcements?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn is in order.
Support.
We have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Daniel. Okay, here we go. That's all right, waiting for you. To call this meeting of the Bay County Board of Commissioners to order, it's approximately 4:20 on Tuesday, December 15th, 2015. Could we have roll call, please?
Durancheck.
Here.
Big Dick.
Here.
Coonan.
Here.
Eric.
Here.
Tilly.
Here.
Lutz.
Here.
Chair Krieger excused.
Yes.
Members present.
Thank you. We will now stand for the invocation, followed by a moment of silence for Beaver Township Supervisor Ronald David Robbins, and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
Almighty God, we ask that you will bless this session of the County Commission today. Give to its members the courage of their own convictions, so that they might work for the common good of all with the strength of confidence placed in them by election to office. May your divine providence guide our county and bring dignity, prosperity, respect, and order to every citizen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point in time, I open up the podium for public input. Anybody from the public that wishes to address this body may step forward and do so. Seeing nobody, we'll move into items of consideration from Personnel Human Services Committee. Commissioner Lutz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today I'd like to bring several resolutions before the board. First, starting with Resolution 2015-78, which is the vacancies in the prosecutor's office, the health department, and which includes the laboratory technician. It does not include the county clerk. That's in a separate motion. So I move that.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 2015-279, which is the Division on Aging Staff Changes. I move that resolution.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
4 ayes and 2 nays.
Who are the noes?
Lutz and Duranzik.
Next is Resolution 2015-280, which is the Bay County 401K Trust Plan Committee resolution. I move that.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 2015-281, which is the clerk's typist number 2 position, TU06 in clerk's office. I move that resolution.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is Resolution 2015-282, which is Section 125 Plan Documentation from the Personnel Department. I move that.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's all we have from Personnel and Human Services today.
Thank you, Commissioner Lutz. We move forward with a couple other resolutions we have before us here. We have resolution, you did the 278, did you not?
283 is next.
Okay, 283 is next, okay. Resolution number 215-283, recognition for the service of Ronald David Robbins, Beaver Township Supervisor, put forward by Commissioner Duranzik.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Brandon, did you want to read it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity to read this. This is very important to me when Mr. Robbins is probably resigning politics today. He gave me the first chance to be the trustee over Beaver Township, so he said that this was a great asset to Beaver Township, not to mention the Bay County. So with that being said, by the Bay County Board of Commissioners, whereas throughout Bay County's history, there have been great leaders who devote their time to improve the way of life for their community, their neighbors, friends, and families through dedicated service. And whereas Bay County lost one of these dedicated servants with the passing of Ronald David Robbins, who served his community for the last 15 years as Beaver Township Supervisor. And whereas Ronald David Robbins was born and raised in Beaver Township, He lived, worked, and played there his entire life with his lovely wife Judy Ann Thibault. His children, Ronald David II and wife Michelle, Robert John and wife Veronica, Ross Alfred, wife Tammy, Jeannie Ann Friedel with her husband Rusty, and his grandchildren Matthew, Nathan, Mitchell, Jackson, Chandler, Lindsay, Ross, Rusty, Jack, Riley, and Catherine. Ronald David Robbins is now playing with his grandson Ryan, who lives with him in heaven. And whereas Ronald David Robbins built his business in Beaver Township, Robbins Auto Truck and Trailer, further proving his commitment to invest in his community. And whereas one of Ronald David Robbins' greatest accomplishments was his dedication to building a park in Beaver Township on side of the roads between 8 and 9 mile roads, where all the families in Beaver Township can enjoy family picnics and reunions and create lasting memories. And whereas the loss of Ronald David Robbins will be deeply felt, not only by family and friends, but also by his former staff and the residents of Beaver Township, all of whom had a deep appreciation for Ronald David Robbins and his objectives for Beaver Township. And whereas, because of his contributions to Beaver Township and Bay County, Ronald David Robbins has left a lasting legacy. Therefore, be it resolved that the Bay County Board of Commissioners, on behalf of the residents of Beaver Township and Bay County, hereby recognizes the efforts and contributions of Ronald David Robbins and offers this resolution in loving memory of Ronald David Robbins.
Commissioner Drainzit, anything to say?
No, but it's nice that Brandon really brought this forward, and to get, younger people, it's nice to have somebody to kind of mentor a younger person to get into, take our places someday, maybe when we want to retire for good or whatever. So I think I commend Brandon for bringing it forward. And we're going to do a presentation out to Beaver Township, hopefully in January.
We're hoping for January, the panel will be there.
Excellent.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 2015-284, the Child Care Fund Budget Adjustments from Probate Court. What's your pleasure?
Support.
Moved and supported. John, do you want to address the board on?
I appreciate the opportunity to come before the board today. We are asking for a $250,000 increase in our child care fund budget. $175,000 of that will be reimbursable by the state. I just got off the phone with the head of the child care fund monitoring unit before I walked in here, just to make sure to verify that that was in fact correct, and it is. We look at the $175,000 back. This comes as a result, essentially, a number of vouchers, payment requests, authorizations for payments that we received from the Department of Health and Human Services, essentially just this morning. So in going through the numbers, going through the budget, and working with our finance department collectively, we realized that this is going to be a big cost to our budget. And just to paint the picture for you, essentially, when I was before this board this past August, I had explained that the rate of autism has caused a huge strain in our budget for our abuse and neglect children. These are the children that are covered under this category of the budget. Once they come to the court takes ownership over them or is overseeing them, at that point, we are required to provide for their care. So if they are low-functioning, high-need children on the autism spectrum, which we have seen numerous times, and I've personally been involved in many of these cases and called some of the treatment facilities to try to negotiate prices, the cost gets quite costly. So of these payments that we received, or authorizations and requests for payments that we received today, these children actually for this fiscal year will cost us approximately $327,000. So it is quite costly. So what we are trying to do, or what we have been attempting to do, is to look closely with the Department of Health and Human Services, our finance department, and myself, to closely watch these cases that come in that are extremely costly. Because if one of these cases do come in, it could be to the tune of approximately $10,000 to $15,000 a month, times that by 12 months of care while they're in the court system. So collectively, we're working together, but at any given time, the court could take one of these children on if there is abuse and neglect situation and the parents are deemed to not be fit to oversee the care of these children. So what I've been doing has been working with Judge Kuvalar and myself, collectively been working to try to look at ways that we can help these children with autism, so that, or help the parents of the children with autism. Just this morning, Judge Kuvalar and myself were at a heroin summit here for the Bay County area. And in that, how does that relate to this? Well, when we look at our family drug court that we have in our probate court, our family drug court oversees or tries to get parents reunified with children who are abuse and neglect or in the court system. The faster reunifications can happen, or the faster children can be adopted, the less cost it will be to the county. Now, when we look at the numbers, that's the reality of it. But we also want to take into consideration that we want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of these children, because it is our requirement to do that. So we are looking for ways to try to do both, to provide good care, good quality of care for a child who's in the court system by no choice of their own, but essentially also trying to combat the problem by helping the parents get custody back of their children, or getting these children into loving homes if that's not possible. So that is essentially why we are requesting the money. It's approximately 3 court wards that have essentially come through our court system most recently that are costing us this huge strain in our budget.
Thanks, John. Commissioner Begic?
Yes, and the cost might go up if the 17-year-olds fall into the delinquent use category. So that, there was testimony on that last week, and hopefully, if they do change it, they'll have some funding available from the state for us on that too. Otherwise, we'll be spending more money.
Yeah, and that actually will come from a different category, but it's still child care fund. So that is something actually we're looking at closely. I actually just did an impact evaluation for Judge Kuvalar last month that we sent over to the state legislature to show them what the impact would be to Bay County if in fact that law was passed. Because it would be a mandate by the state that would be unfunded, that would cost us in our budget to be strained.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hare?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 questions. First of all, last year, how much money did we spend in this fund? And part 2 is $350,000, is that a number that, I know you went through your books and that, could you ask for more, or was that the most you could ask for? I mean, then if we go over that, if somehow we went over that, are we eating the rest of that cost?
Yeah, so essentially what happens is if, go to the second question first, if we go over budget, then we do eat the cost. And the only way that we won't eat that is if we do a budget amendment, which is what I'm doing today. If I didn't do that, then we would have to eat 100% of the cost. So that's why before we came in here, I called and spoke with the state to make sure that they would in fact cover the 50% on that. When it gets to the actual child care fund budget last year, we were at $3.6 million for the entire budget. For the family foster care, we were to the extent of about $750,000.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kuna?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John, has there been recent studies that compare the most recent cases of autism? Has it changed at all?
Yeah, what we're seeing with autism is that there's more and more diagnosis, and the spectrum is quite large. And aside from being a court administrator, I'm also a school board member out where I live. And one of the things that I see as a school board member, and I get a number of parents coming to me with, is the high rate of autism within the schools. What I'm seeing at a district level within a school district that has about 10,000 students that it serves is each year that rate is getting higher and higher. And we're seeing that here. Now what many of the I would say the experts are saying is that there's this argument between, is it that there's something in vaccinations that's causing this, or is it something else? But essentially what many of the experts are saying is the diagnoses are now being recognized. This was something that was actually in existence for many years, but now we have a better gauge at recognizing the autism spectrum. So my analysis of it using my experiences as a probate court administrator and my experiences serving on a school board with a school district is that it's going to get worse. There's going to be more and more. So we have to look at, with us, the reality is to look at ways that we can reunite families, children with their parents, or get these children into loving permanent homes so that they're not under the court system at a cost to us, so that we can utilize monies to provide better care for other children.
What's that? Commissioner Lutz.
So what you're saying is the definition of autism has changed.
Yeah, it's grown the spectrum.
Yeah, so therefore, people that weren't diagnosed with it before are now diagnosed with it now.
Yeah.
But yet, they were back then, but now they are actually being recognized now.
Well, yeah, what the number of the experts have shown is that the autism spectrum, because it's gotten bigger, that there were for many years children, even grown-ups, that could have been or really should be on the autism spectrum that were not diagnosed until we were able to recognize it in today's day. So now, because it's such a large spectrum, now that we can identify it, the good thing is that we can provide care. The downside of that is it's costly to provide care. It comes at a very high cost.
Okay, and then this budget adjustment was drafted for 2015.
It would be for this year's budget, correct?
Or for 2000.
No, it would be, yeah, it would be for the 14-15 year budget, so next year's budget would be separate.
So we may run into this again in 16.
In 16. We're hoping that we won't, but this could possibly be the situation, because at any given time, the court could take custody of a child that's removed on an abuse and neglect petition, and in that we begin to take over the care of that child. If it happens to be a child that's on the autism spectrum, it could cost us anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000 a month.
And if they're not on that,
And if they're not on that, the rate is much cheaper. If you take a child that is just in a normal foster home that doesn't have any needs, $35 a day, as opposed to $400 or $500 a day.
okay.
Well, John, I know you're probably not an expert at this, but for the viewing audience, and maybe somebody else might be, would you explain to them what the spectrum is? I understand it. I mean, are we going from Asperger's to...
Yeah, Asperger's is, I'm not an expert on it, I'm not a clinician, but I actually do have a therapist in my office that I bring in my office all the time. She's within our division, so I bring her in my office for her to really pick her brain. She has a clinician background, a therapist background. But essentially, you have the spectrum, and on the low end of the spectrum, the children are to the extent where they are high need and they are extremely low functioning, where to the point where essentially somebody has to do everything for them. Those are the most costly students. Now, when we get to the Asperger's, from my understanding, is that the children or the adults are higher functioning, and in our case, the children. So they're higher functioning. So when they're higher functioning, that helps us, but the problem is what tends to see, what we see in the school districts, and what we've seen in a number of our treatment facilities, is those children have behavioral issues. And though it would seem that they are normal, they are essentially not. And because they have these behavioral issues, they have violent outbursts, there's situations where they rooms, and then what happens is that a facility that may have been a good fit for them has to kick them out of the facility. So the problem is that if you're autistic or if you have any kind of mental health issue, chaotic situations make it worse.
Right.
So if there's no structure there, then we're starting all over again, which means we're digressing, and then we're going back to putting this child into a new facility, and then they have to build themselves back up to get back to a stable mindset, which is difficult.
Third, thanks. I appreciate that. Secondly, is this, I guess these dollars, is this a result of the legislation that the state passed last year that included autism in the spectrum of mentally impaired individuals in the state of Michigan?
No, it's not. It doesn't have to do with that at all.
Okay.
Either way, we have to cover these costs.
Okay, I didn't know, maybe it was an unfunded mandate that was being passed down. And, very good. Any other questions? Thanks, John, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We move on to any, I didn't miss anything, did I? No. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Any miscellaneous? Announcements? I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, a Happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus, whatever it might be out there. We look forward to seeing all of you in 2016. So, on that note,
Adjourn is always in order.
motion to adjourn, is there a second? Support. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.